Welcome, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of The Geek's Gambit. I'm your host, as always, Barry, and I'm actually just going to be doing a little video today. This is basically pertaining to something that I actually get asked quite a lot. Obviously, I'm a big Batman fan, and obviously the Joker, huge Joker fan as well. I mean, the Joker is probably the most iconic villain in the history of pop culture. Now, obviously, we've had many iterations of this character over the years. He's a character that has appeared quite a few times on the big screen. And people often ask me, who's the best Joker? Who's the best live action Joker? Because obviously, you know, Mark Hamill has been voice acting the Joker now ever since '92, the animated series. And to me, like, Mark Hamill is pretty much the definitive Joker. That man has the perfect laugh and voice for that character. And the animated series, obviously, I'm a huge fan of. And I think in that show, we got some of the greatest iterations of these characters that we've ever actually had put on screen. So, yeah, who is, in my opinion, the best live action Joker? It's incredibly tough. It's really difficult for me. There has only been one iteration on the big screen that I've not been a fan of. And that, at the bottom of the pile for me, is Jared Leto. Now, you know, I commend them. They gave us a new, fresh iteration of the character, a version that we'd never seen on the big screen before. The problem I have, though, it's just not an iteration that worked with me. It just didn't work for me at all. Leto is a very good actor. He's a really good actor. Unfortunately, it kind of felt to me as though Leto was really trying his hardest. That's the problem. It really felt forced. It almost felt like there was nothing really naturalistic to it to me. It almost felt like he was trying to top the likes of Heath Ledger. And the image itself, I mean, you know, its origins are very much steeped in accuracy, if you will, with the white skin, etc. Just the image just didn't work. To me, the tattoos and all that, it was a very forced image. You know, it's something that I would expect Joker fanboys to have, not the Joker himself. All of these tattoos and the smiley face on the hand, and it just did not work. I mean, don't get me wrong, I would have liked ideally to maybe have seen a little bit more of him in Suicide Squad, the 2016 film. Obviously, many of his scenes, there was a lot of stuff removed from that film, but I still firmly believe it wouldn't have changed my mind about him. But I do hate it when films are butchered by the studio. At the end of the day, as a cinema goer, I want to see the full article. I would like to see the movie that is trying to be made by the director. It's a movie that was massively hindered by studio interference. And from what I understand, the Joker, Jared Leto's Joker, had so much content cut. But even with that extra content, I don't believe I would have changed my view about him. And unfortunately, it's just not a version that really worked for me in any shape, way, or form. So Cesar Romero would be above him. Cesar Romero, 60s Batman. I think Cesar Romero was pretty much perfect. You know, obviously this was the 60s TV show. So needless to say, it was cheesy. It was way lighter in tone. The Joker wasn't really this big homicidal psychopath or anything like that. He was more a robber, you know, committing robberies and whatnot. I think Cesar Romero, obviously the inspiration, the Joker was influenced by, the actor's name is actually escaping me at the moment, but a classic 1920s film, The Man Who Laughs. That's where the whole inspiration of the Joker actually came from. And with Cesar Romero's Joker, I think he perfectly fits the formula, the tone of the show / film that he was in. Obviously, there was a film released in '66. This is where it's really difficult to me, because in third place for me would probably be Jack Nicholson's Joker, and Jack Nicholson was great. Jack Nicholson, once again, I think he perfectly fit the movie that he was in. I know when Tim Burton cast him, he was really the only actor he had in mind. And Nicholson, I believe he got something like a whopping $50 million, which certainly at that time was the most money ever given to an actor for a single film role. I absolutely love Jack Nicholson as the Joker. Yeah, he basically steals practically every scene he's in. I think he has so many goddamn quotable lines in that film as well. Obviously, for the movie, they created Tim Burton. Obviously, took some huge liberties with making, Jack Napier's Joker be the one that actually killed Bruce Wayne's parents in Crime Alley then many years ago, to create that personal edge for the film. Obviously, it was always Joe Chill, a two-bit thug. But I thought Nicholson again was great. When Batman came out, let's face it, comic book movies were incredibly few and far between. There wasn't this huge superhero comic book movie boom that there is now. Superman came out, 11 years before it, and Superman was a big commercial success. Batman was the biggest movie box office wise of '89. And, still one of the very best Batman films out there, in my opinion. And I think Jack Nicholson was just perfect casting. Jack Nicholson is one of my favorite actors. I absolutely love Nicholson, and he does often play these quirky, off the wall kind of characters. Nicholson is an actor that just has this kind of naturalistic, crazed look to him. So I think it was just perfect casting, really. And interestingly as well, I believe there's only ever been 2 live action Batman movies where the actor other than Batman has received top billing. And Jack Nicholson, obviously at this point in the career, Jack Nicholson was a bigger actor than Michael Keaton. And I believe the other film was Batman and Robin, in which Arnold Schwarzenegger received top billing, obviously over George Clooney. George Clooney at that point wasn't really the big Hollywood star that he is now. He'd been in a few films prior, but I think Nicholson's Joker is great. And, a little part of me feels bad for not actually putting him in the top spot because, as I said, I'm a big Jack Nicholson fan. And, I just love the lines he comes out with. And I suppose, if there's anything, I like the fact that what I do love about the Joker is he's a character shrouded in mystery. Nobody truly knows where he came from. Obviously, this film dispels that. Much like with The Killing Joke, but with The Killing Joke, obviously, he actually comes out with a quote of, if when people ask me about my past, I prefer it to be multiple choice, which is implying that maybe what he's told us is completely fabricated. And I like that air of mystery to him. Obviously, this film, we know he's a hitman. We know he's a mobster. He's a mobster before he becomes the Joker. But still, great performance. And I think it's Nicholson pretty much almost at his best. There's only a couple of other Nicholson films, 2 or 3 other Nicholson films, but I'd actually probably put above Batman. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest being one such film. My favorite Jack Nicholson movie, in fact. So this is where it's really tough between these two. I know for a lot of people it's going to be Heath Ledger, and I can fully understand that. Heath Ledger was fantastic. And I myself, I was very apprehensive. I was very skeptical about that casting. Heath Ledger had proved himself to be a solid actor with the likes of Brokeback Mountain, and obviously he'd been in quite a few films prior, but Brokeback Mountain is a movie that really showcased his acting ability. Fantastic performance. I mean, like Nicholson in Batman, I think that Heath Ledger's Joker pretty much steals almost every scene he's in. And again, it's kind of a fresh iteration. It was kind of a bold take on the character, because it is a version that we'd never seen on the screen before, and quite a risk. Whereas Jared Leto's was as well. Unfortunately, Jared Leto's is one that fell flat. And unfortunately, Leto's Joker wasn't in a particularly good film. I actually say, and people are quite shocked when I say this, but I think The Dark Knight's a great movie. But if you take Heath Ledger's Joker out of it, it's still a good film, but I really feel like he elevates that movie. He elevates the film. And getting back to the kind of air of mystery with the Joker, there's a couple of scenes in the film where, he obviously asks, Do you want to know how I got these scars? And he comes up with two different stories, two very different stories. And I love that aspect because once again, it's tapping into the Joker is a very unreliable narrator. You can't really believe what he's telling you. But I think 2008's The Dark Knight, it gave us an almost instantly cinematic, iconic villain. The Joker had been around for a long time. Everyone knew who the Joker was prior to The Dark Knight. But as soon as Heath Ledger gave us that version almost became instantly iconic. It's a fantastic performance. It really is. And, it's a shame. It's a shame because obviously he passed away. He's still alive at the end of the film. And we would have got the Joker in some capacity in the third movie. So, yeah. Now, I'm not actually putting one of these above the other. I find it very hard to because Joaquin Phoenix gave a fantastic performance too. But it's a very different movie. This isn't a movie about Batman. This is essentially an origin story of him becoming the Joker. But again, the unreliable narrator aspect. I love the ending to this movie because with this film, the way I took the ending was basically, again, we don't actually know everything that he's told us is actually true. Is he just trying to get us to sympathize with him and, to be on his side? Joaquin Phoenix completely carries this movie. I thought Joker was an excellent film, an absorbing character study. Obviously, a lot of people, I know some people have heavily criticized it for basically being a combination of Taxi Driver and The King of Comedy, two Martin Scorsese directed films. And yes, it has Martin Scorsese's fingerprints pretty much all over it. Scorsese was actually attached to the project for a while, actually. But I thought Joker was an excellent film. I thought it was very much kind of a love letter to that era of cinema. And it is a film that really could have fell flat if not for the central performance of Joaquin Phoenix, who deservedly got the Oscar. We've had two actors win Oscars for comic book movies, and both of them have won an Oscar for playing the Joker. Some people have asked me, do I think Heath Ledger would have won the Oscar had he not have died? It's almost impossible to say. I would certainly say that he was a strong contender to, and he had a really good chance of winning that Oscar. So I think that yes, I think he may have done. With Joaquin Phoenix, deservedly. I know he truly committed himself to the role as well. Obviously very much a method actor, as Jared Leto is. I mean, I've heard so many stories circling around that guy. I don't actually like Jared Leto, actually. As an actor, I think he's a really good actor. But I've heard so many goddamn stories about this guy that he really has got quite the ego in that. But with Joaquin Phoenix, I think he lost 52 pounds for this film. He almost looks skeletal in comparison to what he normally looks like. As I said, I think Joker was an excellent film. And with Joaquin Phoenix's performance, it's just he's so captivating to watch. And it's very well directed as well. Every shot just seems to be perfectly framed, and the use of lighting. And this is a character study. Now, I've heard some people say that, Joaquin Phoenix he's not the Joker. He's not the Joker that I know. And I think a lot of people are stuck with Heath Ledger in the head, or Jack Nicholson. This character has been around since 1940. Okay. You can have multiple iterations of this character. I get it. Some are going to work, some aren't. Okay. But at least we've had very different versions of these characters, very different versions. And I think it comes down to personal choice, because with Joaquin Phoenix, it's his story. With Heath Ledger, it is a Batman film. It is a Batman movie. Batman is the central character technically, but even though Heath Ledger pretty much steals the show. With Joaquin Phoenix, he carries that movie because it is an origin story. But at the same time, as I said, there is a sense of ambiguity to it. And that's what I love the movie for. And I don't want to see a sequel. I've said this before. There has been talks of a sequel now on and off for some time. I get it. The movie made over $1 billion, huge box office success, doesn't need a sequel. I actually don't want to see a sequel, because what I really like about that film is the fact that it stands on its own two legs. It's not handcuffed to anything else, and it's refreshing to see a comic book movie, certainly in this day and age, that is just on its own. And I really feel that you could potentially lessen the impact of the original movie by coming up with a sequel. So I think Joaquin Phoenix just gives an absolutely fantastic performance. You really feel sorry for this guy. You can fully understand the situation that he ends up in. And, that's the thing. But then, as I said, is it reliable? And it's that answered the kind of like unanswered question. At least that's how I took it. There was some definite shades of The Killing Joke almost towards the end of this movie. So I think Joaquin Phoenix and Heath Ledger are both great Jokers. If a gun was put to my head, and I had to choose, people will hate me, but I'm going to say Joaquin Phoenix. Simply for the fact of, a fantastic performance. Obviously, quite a different version from Heath Ledger's in that. We're not seeing the Joker in this film go out and commit all the crimes and atrocities like he did in The Dark Knight, or many other in the comic format. And that this is an origin story, so he doesn't become the fully fledged Joker until kind of like the end of the movie, if you will. But obviously I think there's a moment of kind of dark beauty, actually, where in a way he's kind of born as the Joker when he shoots them guys on the underground, and he goes into and he does that kind of that dance sequence, which I believe was improv in the bathroom. And of course, the moment where he paints his face and he comes out with that red, obviously we're not going to talk about the song or whatever. But yeah, he comes out and he does that dance on the stairs and all that. I absolutely frigging love that moment. Arthur Fleck is gone and the Joker is born, kind of thing. But just my personal opinion. The only version that I didn't like was Jared Leto's. If we're talking about voice acting, Mark Hamill, brilliant. Mark Hamill has cemented himself in that role as a voice actor. Troy Baker is an excellent Joker. And I only talked about this recently on another podcast. I think Troy Baker's almost as good as Mark Hamill. I think there's actually moments when Troy Baker's talking and it just sounds like Mark Hamill to me. I think Troy Baker is an excellent voice actor. Other voice actors, Joe Dimaggio. I think Joe Dimaggio did a perfectly good job. He's not Hamill, but he was in Under the Red Hood, one of DC's best animated films. But I thought he did a perfectly good job. Obviously, I know Joe Dimaggio. I mean, he's a prolific voice actor, but the thing that I probably know him for most is Bender in Futurama. Love Futurama. That's pretty much all I want to talk about. So it's kind of like at the top spot, I'm very torn between Joaquin and Heath Ledger. But as I said, if I had to choose, I'd go Joaquin Phoenix, but only just. I think they're both great performances. But based on the fact that Joaquin Phoenix has to carry that film, pretty much every single scene in that film involves him. So that's it. That's it for today. So thanks a lot to everyone that listened, and I will be back again soon. And people have also asked me quickly, do I think the Joker will appear in the upcoming Matt Reeves Batman trilogy? Yeah, I think there's a very good chance. But I would like to see the Joker by the third film. Give some of the other villains time to shine. Give them some of the limelight. Because as much as I love the Joker, I've said this before, I do feel like the Joker overshadows certain other villains. And I feel like there is a definite huge saturation of the Joker. I mean, I get it. He's a fantastic character. But Batman has a lot of other great villains too. So if the Joker does come into this trilogy, I want him by the third movie, the third film. So that's it for today. Thanks a lot to everyone that listened, and I will be back again soon. So take care for now.